Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
The land down under has never been easier to reach. United Airlines has more flights between the U.S. and Australia than any other U.S. airline, so you can fly nonstop to destinations like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Explore dazzling cities, savor the very best of Aussie cuisine, and get up close and personal with the wildlife. Who doesn't want to hold a koala? Go to united.com/Australia to book your adventure.
This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 3279. Getting What We Want Isn't What We Really Want, by David Cain of Raptitude.com. And I'm Justin Malik. And we're going to jump right into today's post as we optimize your life. Getting What We Want Isn't What We Really Want, by David Cain of Raptitude.com. There was a fascinating piece in The New Yorker recently about a man who, in the 1960s, bought a motel just so he could spy on his guests. He'd always been captivated by other people's private moments, by how differently they behave when they think they're alone. He admits he also wanted to see them have. The article is fascinating for many reasons, but perhaps the owner's most interesting discovery was that human beings are quite typically miserable on vacation. Alain de Botton has written about this phenomenon that our vacations never actually resemble the week of bliss and relaxation we expect them to be. In his short documentary, The Art of Travel, he describes the hilarious and all too familiar way in which his long-awaited Mediterranean cruise unfolds as a parade of mild disappointments, even though there was nothing particularly wrong with any of it. Getting what we want, or think we want, in those brief moments when we actually do, always seems to be more complicated and fraught than what we pictured. But maybe getting what we want isn't really what we want in life. Whenever someone suggests it, I always want to go out for dinner. The thought of it makes me high. There are consequences, however, to going out to eat every time I have the impulse, potentially serious, long-term ones, both financial and subcutaneous. But dining out is such an ever-exciting proposition that it seems worth making those trade-offs on a regular basis. When I think about it, this sense of delight I expect is never actually present throughout the whole meal. On this occasion, it is interrupted by complications the moment my friend and I arrive at the restaurant. The host seats us and says our server will be right with us, which, as the minutes pass, begin to seem untrue. Do I need to get up and ask someone? No, I should wait. Our future server is probably busy dreading that shoe drop moment in which an impatient customer politely nags her while she's working as quickly as she can. I have no problem waiting 5 or 10 minutes for menus or even longer. I'm not desperate to eat. I'm desperate to be free of the existential limbo of not knowing whether we've been completely overlooked. Human needs are strange. I could fast for 12 hours with little discomfort, yet sometimes it's amazingly difficult to bear a tiny uncertainty for a minute or two, even about embarrassingly petty things like whether your hired food servant knows you exist. Moments later, I'm released from my private purgatory and we are handed menus. My friend and I order. Then we chat about Game of Thrones and far-off wildfires, and we promise each other we will go camping at least once this summer. 2,500 years earlier, a much smarter 35-year-old man is sitting under a Bodhi tree in India figuring out why my restaurant experience can't be remotely as pure and satisfying as the thought of it was. He wants to understand why human life is so hard, even when you're doing something luxurious and indulgent, such as living in a palace, or paying people to make food for you and refill your water before you have to ask. The man is working on a bold new theory. that getting what you want leads to the same problems as not getting what you want. His 2 previous careers, first as a prince who got everything he wanted, and then as ascetic monk who denied himself everything he wanted, demonstrated to him that our level of happiness is directly tied to our endless tissue box-like supply of cravings and desires, but has little to do with whether or not those wants are fulfilled. Instead, he believes it's how we want that matters. Our well-being hinges on whether we grasp at our desires, doing anything to relieve the feeling, or whether we can instead coolly recognize our desires as they really are, little bubbles of impulse that perpetually form in our awareness, tickle us for a bit, and then float away. Simply getting better at acquiring the things we want does little good. We suffer whether we get the thing or not. If we don't get it, well, we suffer the loss. If we do get it, we'll still suffer because we know we will lose it. Some part of us naturally suspects this anyway. Evidently, I knew it even when I was an 11-year-old kid riding home from a department store in our family van after spending a summer's worth of savings on a Nintendo game. Even that exact moment in which the one thing I wanted in life was in a shopping bag on my lap, I became gripped by the fear that we'd all get killed in a car accident on the way home, which would prevent me from playing it. Please, Dad, just make it to the driveway. I knew it when I was 14, in love with an amazing new song and having just bought the album. Every glorious listen came with a faint streak of dread because I knew I was only sucking the magic out of it with each play. My chili with bannock is so good. This is why I come here. We ought to do this more often, I say to my friend, or maybe just think it. Very quickly, however, I see the end approaching. The chili is disappearing, and I have too much bannock now. I wish I had eaten it more slowly. Next time, I'll do it right. We should come here more often, I say again, aloud this time. But then I see a way out. The desserts here are great, I say, pretty sure that that's true. And before the dessert even arrives, I know that when it's gone, I'll be ordering a coffee. And by then, the need for more chili will be ancient history. I'm satisfied with my plan. The man under the Bodhi tree would have laughed at this plan to repeatedly redirect my unresolved neediness to something else just over the horizon, even though it's a pretty standard life strategy. I've read some of his books, or at least books about his books. I even sit on the floor, like he says, working with desire a bit every day, which helps me occasionally remember that it's possible to want something without suffering over whether you get it. There's nothing necessarily wrong with deciding to go and get what you want. I'll always like dining out, even if it's never the unmitigated stretch of joy I envision when the decision is made. But it would help us to remember that what we really want isn't the thing itself. What we want is the experience of ease and unfettered enjoyment that is promised falsely by the thought of acquiring the thing. The restaurant meal, the cruise, the raise, the loving relationship, even though everything comes with its own pains and complications and regrets. The ease itself we can find much more readily by understanding our wants rather than scrambling to relieve them. We live in a society that's constantly, cynically promising that ease and relief through the getting of a particular thing, showing us pictures of it whenever possible, showing us how affordable it is. I constantly forget that it's the ease, the unfettered mind that I really want. And the restaurant doesn't serve that. But I would like a coffee if it's not too much trouble. You just listened to the post titled, Getting What We Want Isn't What We Really Want by David Cain of Raptitude.com. And I'll be right back with my commentary.
Isn't the point of traveling to get away from it all? To feel the best you've ever felt? Then maybe you should check out Aruba. You'll spend your time relaxing on cool, white, sandy beaches and floating in healing blue water. You'll meet locals brimming with gratitude for an island that redefines what a paradise can be. When your trip comes to an end, you won't need another vacation because you just had the vacation. That's the Aruba effect. Plan your trip at Aruba.com.
Thank you to David. A great quote in there at the end that I think is worth repeating. He said, "The ease itself we can find much more readily by understanding our wants rather than scrambling to relieve them. We live in a society that's constantly, cynically promising that ease and relief through the getting of a particular thing, showing us pictures of it whenever possible and showing us how affordable it is. I constantly forget that it's the ease, the unfettered mind, that I really want." And isn't that the truth? Isn't that what we really want, peace of mind? We might say we want to have less pain, but I'd argue that if it were somehow possible to have peace of mind with the pain, we would want that. And I guess that's possible with something like anesthesia, sort of. It's kind of a way to have to go through the pain, but with peace of mind. So how do we get this peace of mind? Well, the Buddha, the prince/monk that he referenced in this post, along with many of the authors I narrate here, would say that it's always there within us. We just have to make space for it. And practices like meditation or journaling, that's what they're there for. So a nice reminder from David today. But with that, wishing you a great rest of your day and start to your weekend. And I'll see you tomorrow as usual, where your optimal life awaits.